We're having some more fun with ribs today. Now, if you've seen some of the other YouTube videos, you know I'm a big fan of the 3-2-1. It's kind of easy and brainless, and it cooks great ribs. The problem that I've always had, though, doing that on the green egg is the fact that I had to cut the ribs in half to get the amount of ribs I wanted on there to feed my family. And the presentation, it's not as great as it would be if I had a whole rack of ribs. So we did some research and we came up with this cool thing, and I'm about to show you. Now, I'm not going to do the whole prep of the ribs and talk about the 3-2-1 because you can see the other YouTube video about that. But what I am going to show you is a little bit more of presentation. So check this out. We've had these in here for 3 hours. We had it for just around 200 degrees throughout the 3-hour cook. Did some apple wood with it to give it some great flavor. And we're going to just pop it open. Oh, wow. Just look at that. It just flat looks better when it's a full rack of ribs. It just looks better because it's a full rack of ribs. We're going to check the temperature real quick. And of course, checking the temperature on ribs it's tough because it's hard to get a good temperature reading on it. But ribs got to be around 180, 190 to eat. And that's a 181 right there. We got 190 right there. And our bottom one is 186. So as normal, after your 3-hour cook, they're ready to eat. And I know you're looking at this and you've got some questions. This is an adjustable rig from the Chromatic Grill Store. It's a place in Denton, Texas, of all places. But what this does is it allows a really cool presentation. So we're going to pull these off. We're going to, of course, double wrap them in foil. We're going to use some apple juice on them. We're going to throw them back on here, let them have their 2 hours in the apple juice so those ribs will really get moist. And then when we get them out of the apple juice and we finish off the ribs, we're also going to talk about a new rub that we're going to try out today, and we're going to talk about a new way of applying the barbecue sauce. Yeah. So I've got the ribs off. We've wrapped them in foil. I actually got some really heavy-duty foil this time, so I'm just doing a single wrap on the foil. We've got some apple juice in them, but while I've got this apart, I wanted to show you a couple of cool things. Check out the drip pan I got from the store. It's really nice. It fits the egg, and my diffuser is a round, it looks just like a pizza platter instead of the normal diffuser, so I'm getting more air around my diffuser than I am the normal green egg diffuser. So first time I've tried it, so it's going to be really interesting to see how it all works out. But as you can see, that little drip pan alone was worth the trip up there because I covered up with a little foil, and it's perfectly shaped for the green egg. How cool is that? So what we're going to do now, since I've got these wrapped up in foil, don't necessarily need the elevated levels like I did before when we were doing the original smoke on them. So we're just going to put our plate splitter back, our grill back up on top. And the grill is sitting higher in the egg, so it's getting a lot more of that circumference heat moving around, a lot more easy to access. And since we got them in foil anyway, we're just going to stack them up on top of each other here, like so. That way we don't have to worry about it for the next 2 hours. We can just kind of, leave it alone, let it be a little brainless. And, let the green egg do its thing. Okay, we're done with our 2 hours of our 3-2-1. And of course, we had this all in the foil with our apple juice. And if you've done a 3-2-1 before, right in the middle of your 2 in your first hour, you add a little bit more apple juice to it so you get all of that moisture into the ribs. And these should look spectacular now. And you can, oh, look at that. You can already feel the bend going on. And of course, with our new rack that we have in here, we're able to keep the ribs all together. Look at the steam coming off of that. Look at the meat pull back off the bone right there. That is beautiful. Look at that pull back on the bone. See, these are ready for some barbecue sauce. So what we're going to do is we're going to do something fun with the barbecue sauce today. Something we learned at Egg Fest over the weekend. We saw some guys really manipulate their barbecue sauce in a way that I wanted to try, and I wanted to try it on the ribs. Now you can see we got 3 racks of ribs here. One of them's got a big X on it. We used a real spicy rub on the one with an X. So what we're going to do is put a spicy barbecue sauce on that. This is just really cheap barbecue sauce that I bought at Costco. We're going to pour it in here. But to spice in this barbecue sauce up just a little bit and to give it a unique flavor, I'm going to throw a little honey in it, just a little bit on this one. And I'm going to throw a little Cabernet in with it. Just a little bit. This is gonna thin that barbecue sauce out because this time I don't want a pasty barbecue sauce on my ribs. I want a more thin glaze type of barbecue sauce on the ribs to really make them look good. And they're not quite as messy. So we're just gonna stir this one up. See how it's thinning out that barbecue sauce a little bit? And then I'm gonna add a little extra pepper to it and stuff to really make this extra spicy. Let's see. It's remarkable how that just that little bit of Cabernet adds some really cool flavor to it. Now, here's the mild barbecue sauce. This is for my kids. My kids do not like spicy at all. So we used a very non-spicy rub. It was a honey rub that we picked up, and I'll show it to you here in a little bit. And this is just a real mild barbecue sauce. And on this one, I'm gonna add a lot of honey to it. Look at that. Big old glob of honey to that one. Stir that one up really good. It really thins out that barbecue sauce. It makes it easier to clean up the kids after they've chowed down on some ribs. You can taste the sweet honey in that. And that'll make those kids just eat those ribs up. Real simple. We're going to liberally apply that to the ribs. And we're going to throw that back on our cooker and let the heat caramelize all of that sugar. Look at that. You can see that glaze right there is just beautiful already. And I think that glaze is really coming from the honey that we put into there. But look at that. I mean, does that not look beautiful? Just, I mean, here's with the glaze, here's without the glaze. And you can see this looks great, but does not look near as good as a polish. It's like you're painting a polished glaze on here. You know, when you think about it, it's really a beautiful art form preparing these ribs. And this honey looks awesome. Look at that. That's just, to me, that is beautiful. That's a thing of beauty. Love it. We're going to take the spicier one right here, put it on this one. Now you can see this one's a little thicker. It's got that Merlot in it, so it doesn't have that sheen like the heavy honey does. But I got to tell you, this smells amazing. And of course, this is the adult rack of ribs because it's going to be spicier and it has a little alcohol in it. And you could use a Cabernet, you could use a bourbon. I think that's probably what I would try the next time. Maybe a little bourbon inside with the barbecue sauce. So you can see we got this up nice and high, around 250 on the thermometer. That probably tells me, you know, great temperatures probably close to 300 degrees. There's a little variance there in the temperatures. And we got the vent opened up. We're going to open it up a little bit more. Now this should look amazing. You know, and we've done this 3-2-1 before, but really we're featuring the way we're racking these on because I got the entire rack here. And you can see the ribs below on this bottom rack, we cut the barbecue sauce with a lot of honey. We put a whole lot of honey in that. And look at the glaze on that. The glaze on that is beautiful. The top one, we kept that more spicy and we put a Merlot in that one. And look at the dark richness of this one. And look. Yeah, we've already been doing tasters on it right there. You can see. I mean, you just got to pull it apart and see how that pull part is. And look at that steam coming off. 3-2-1, so easy. And utilizing this multi-level grate really makes cooking these ribs that much more spectacular. And look how they break apart when you pick them up. Look at that break apart right there. That means they are perfectly done and ready to go onto the cutting board. And this is how easy it is. You take your big mitt glove, you pull your top grate off. You have access to the ribs underneath it. Look at the bone pullback, and look when you put that honey in there, look at the glow on that. Just beautiful. Really. Oh, and look at that right there. Pulled right off. Look at the meat in there. I mean, just gorgeous. You know what we're going to do? We've got two individuals that are probably the best rib connoisseurs that I know. And we're going to have them test these ribs, and we're going to get a first-hand, not a John hand, but a first-hand experienced look at what these ribs should taste like and the reaction you should get from them when you eat them.
Hot and tasty. It's hot.